Yalimadad, Navroz Mubarak. Lately, I have been troubled by many of the things I have heard and experienced. As a 14-year-old girl, writing poetry has given me an outlet to express myself. My slam poem is an impassioned plea for us to look beyond our superficial attributes to the common humanity that unites us all, because every one of us is perfect in every way. Looking through the glass mirror. Some days I wake up and look in the mirror. In fact, we all do. And do you know at who? At the person we hate most in this world, because society has told us to criticize every bruise, every scar, and every cut, setting us apart from what we have been told is the norm. And so, staring into this mirror, you ask, how can I change, become better, and fit into this so-called norm? Why? Here's why. I get paid less than you just because I have long hair and wear dresses while you're all manly. You are left alone in the hallways at lunch just because you don't speak English and I've grown up with that language. I get pointed at and laughed at in the change room just because my hips are curved a different way than yours. You work at a gas station while I go to university just because I have more change in my pockets. I am seen of less worth than you just because my skin is brown and yours is white. I may not be allowed into Mr. Trump's country just because I pray in a Jamaat khana and you in a church. My friends, do you want to know a secret? One that every hater, sexist, and racist has somehow unknowingly forgotten. Well, let me tell you something. These differences between me and my friend, me and my neighbor, me and the stranger on the street, they are all okay. They are more than all right. Because you are you, and I am me. It's crazy how we dispute against difference, but have rarely taken a single second to think otherwise. What if we were all exactly the same, speaking only one language, had the exact same shades of skin, prayed to the same God, and carried the same amount of change in our pockets? Would that be a perfect world? Would we live in harmony, bored out of minds with nothing more to learn from each other? The answer is simple: no. Human beings were not constructed to be identical robots. We have each been shaped into our own snowflake, rare and unique, in detail and pattern, with no two combinations of DNA or chromosomes exactly alike. And once we accept that reality, then instead of warring, bombing, nuking, and building walls, then we will be able to put our minds together for great missions, living side by side as neighbors on this beautiful planet we call Earth, in one great big circle, with our arms linked and our hearts virtually connected. So I say to you today, when you wake up tomorrow, look through that glass mirror. Not at the person you hate, but rather who you love most in this world. That amazing, incredible, extraordinary human being who has a story behind them, created day by day, chapter by chapter, with strengths, weaknesses, uniqueness, and differences from the norm. Yourself. Never change. You are perfect in every way. Thank you. Thank you.
그다지다기나 돈나 걔나 걔게다 그대네다 걔나 걔나 대체 그다
I would like you to know how deeply touched I am by this wonderful evening and by the celebration of my Golden Jubilee here in India. It has been a time of enormous happiness, but also a time of thinking back to the status of the Jamaat in 1957 in India, Pakistan, East Africa, Central Asia. And I say to myself, Alhamdulillah, the Jamaat has made progress. It lives in greater security. It lives in countries where there is greater hope, greater stability. And there will always be problems, that we all know. But the fact that this can be said by the Imam of the time today is due to the leadership of the Jamaat, to the unity of the Jamaat, to the efforts decade after decade to move forwards, to build capacity, to build institutions, to follow a sense of direction in life. And this I want to say this evening because I see amongst the Jamaat here this evening many leaders of the past, the leaders of today. And I think back to what was the time that they led and what were the problems that they had to deal with, and how leadership has built from generation to generation in continuity towards the sorts of results that we have all hoped and prayed for. I would also say that this has to be an occasion of joy, an occasion of happiness. And I want again to repeat my gratitude to the government, the central government, the government of the states, all the authorities, the state organizations, for the extremely warm and generous way in which they have received me here in India. And to tell you that this friendship, because it is a genuine, sincere friendship, will carry outside India, will not remain in India. It will carry outside India. And we will work together to try to establish places in the world where people can live in plurality, in happiness, and in security. I would also like to say how very happy I am to see the magnificent progress that you have made since I was last in India. And we will continue to build, to try to expand activities where they need to be expanded. I am still concerned about the quality of education, the access to education of our younger generations, particularly in the rural environments. I am concerned about economic support for people who are not yet independent in their economic destinies. There is much to be done. But I have a sense of confidence, a sense of great confidence, because India is moving forwards, because the Jamaat is moving forwards. And it has built and it will continue to build strong institutions. And ultimately, it is strong institutions which enable countries, communities, families to establish a permanency of progress. Ultimately, that is what we're talking about, the permanency of progress. There are so many leaders here this evening that I would be unable to mention all of them, but I simply want to tell you how grateful I am as the Imam for the magnificent work that you have done. I congratulate you. I send to you and your families my affection, my love, and above all, my gratitude for what you have done for the Jamaat and for the Imamate. I have enjoyed the evening enormously. I enjoyed the dances. I congratulate the youth, and I hope that they will carry forward the humor and the joy of this evening. Thank you.
یا علی مدد، welcome, bienvenue، خوش آمدید. تشکر از همراهی شما به قسمت دیگری از برنامه بازتاب شام جمعه. نام من نور ویس است و من رئیس کانسل کبک و مری تایمز هستم و افتخار دارم که میزبان برنامه این هفته بازتاب جمعه شب هستم و از اعضای جماعت، اعضای خانواده های از سایر مذاهب و از همه دوستانی که از سراسر کانادا و جهان ما را همراهی می کنند استقبال کنم. امشب من از مونتریال با شما مخاطب هستم. فکر می کنم همه ما موافقیم که در مورد این که حالا این تقریبا یک سنت رسمی برنامه بازتاب جمعه شب شده که میزبان برنامه آنچه را که با چای در هنگام تماشای بازتاب جمعه شب هر هفته صرف می کند با شما به اشتراک بگذارد. بنابراین مانند بسیاری از اعضای جماعت آسیای میانه ما میوه های خشک را دوست داریم. من مقدار بادام، چارمغز و کشمش و یک پیاله چای سبز خوب دارم. تهیه آسان و صحی. بازتاب جمعه شب یک برنامه عالی برای گرد هم آمدن ما به عنوان یک جماعت بوده و یکی از نقاط قوت ما تنوع جماعت ماست. و امشب من با به اشتراک گذاشتن برخی تعاملات روی این موضوع به زبان انگلیسی، فرانسوی و فارسی ادامه خواهم داد. اول از همه امیدوارم و دعا میکنم که شما و تمام اعضای فامیلتان از سلامتی و صحت برخوردار باشید. موضوع امشب راهنمایی و مشاوره است و این که ما چگونه به عنوان یک جماعت می توانیم با به اشتراک گذاشتن تجربات و دانش خود با یکدیگر بر زندگی یکدیگر تأثیر مثبت بگذاریم. اول من می خواهم در مورد تأثیرات کووید 19 در کبک و بالای جماعت کبک معلومات تازه در اختیار شما قرار دهم. در اینجا در کبک مانند بیشتر ولایات دیگر با افزایش تعداد موارد کووید 19 ما شاهد افزایش تعداد اعضای جماعت هستیم که با ادامه شرایط از آن متاثر می گردند. ما برای مشکل آسان همه اعضای جماعت که ایام سخت را پشت سر می گذرانند دعا می کنیم و امیدواریم و دعا می کنیم که از این حالت ما متحد و قوی تر بیرون بیاییم. همان طوری که میدانین ایالت کبک در قرنطینه است و ما از ساعت 8 شب الی 5 صبح ممنوعیت رفت و آمد داریم. ما میدانیم که این دوره بویژه برای بسیاری از اعضای جماعت دشوار است. ما برای مشکل آسان و توانمندی جماعت برای مقابله با این مشکلات، صحت و سلامتی و شفای همه مریضان دعا میکنیم. میخواهم از این فرصت برای حمایت فوق‌العاده اعضای جماعت ما در سراسر کانادا و کار استثنایی مکی کامریا صاحبان و مکیانی کامریانی صاحبه ها، والنترهای رسمی و غیر رسمی ما استفاده کرده و از خدمت فوق‌العاده کمیته غسل میت که به ویژه سال بسیار سخت داشتند قدردانی کنم. من از صمیم قلب از تعهد شما، فداکاری و کار عالی شما و خدمت شما برای جماعت و جوامع دیگر مخصوصا در جریان ماه‌های گذشته که بسیار دشوار بود قدردانی میکنم. همان طوری که بسیاری از شما میدانید ما افزایش چشمگیر در تعداد جماعت آسیایی میانه در کبک داشتیم و در واقع در سال 1992 زمانی که ملاقات مولانا حاضر امام در مونتریال برگزار گردید ما فقط به تعداد 1000 نفر جماعت بودیم و در آن دیدار مولانا حاضر امام با رهبری کبک در مورد موج آینده و رسیدن جماعت آسیای میانه در کبک صحبت کرد. درست بعد از چند ماه 300 تن از جماعت آسیای میانه در کبک رسید و بلافاصله تعداد جماعت 30% اضافه شد. و این روند برای مدت 6 سال ادامه یافت که در جریان آن تقریبا 3000 مهاجر جدید جماعت در کبک مسکن گزین شدند و این روند همچنان ادامه داشته و تا امروز هم ادامه دارد و امروز ما به تعداد بیش از 12000 جماعت هستیم و همچنان این تعداد در حال افزایش است و اخیراً ما بیشتر خواهران و برادرانمان را از سوریه پذیرایی میکنیم که بسیار بسیار خوشحال هستیم زیرا به تنوع و موزاییک زیبای جماعت ما در کبک می افزاید. و البته میدانید با هر موج مهاجرت چالش های زبانی، فرهنگی و همه اینها وجود دارد، اما به عنوان یک جماعت و به عنوان یک جامعه ما واقعاً باید کثرت‌گرایی و نقش تنوع و شمول در جامعه و نهادهای خود را برجسته نماییم. بنابراین شکر مولا ما تا حالا تجربه عالی در کبک داشته ایم و مشتاقانه منتظر پذیرایی تعداد بیشتری از اعضای جماعت در سالهای آینده هستیم. از آنجایی که ما در مورد راهنمایی، مشاوره و مهاجرت صحبت میکنیم، من میخواهم سرگذشت شخصی خود را با شما در میان بگذارم. من در سال 2005 به کانادا آمدم و مانند سایر یا بیشتر تازه واردان در جستجوی کار بودم. من با یک مشاور پروگرام مهارت و کاریابی در دفتر کانسل ملاقات کردم. بعد از اولین ملاقات ما و بررسی اسناد و مدارک من و تجارب آنچه که در پاکستان انجام داده بودم و در واقع از دادن شغل که برای آن به یک کارگر ضرورت داشت خودداری کرد. او به من گفت که در تانکتیل به یک نفر کارگر ضرورت دارد، اما در عوض تصمیم گرفت با یک دانشگاه مونتریال، دانشگاه کنکوردیا، برای من یک وقت ملاقات گرفت و مرا با مشاور دانشگاه معرفی کرد تا اسناد تحصیلی مرا بررسی کند و ببیند آیا فرصتی برای ادامه تحصیل برای من وجود دارد یا نه. من در آن روز کم ناامید شدم، زیرا به دنبال کار میگشتم، اما همان طور که او به من گفت که شاید بهترین چیز برای من نبود. من در آن زمان حدود 24 سال داشتم و فرصتهای زیاد وجود داشت. من مشوره او را پذیرفتم و به آن جلسه مشاورت رفتم و پس از بررسی اسناد من او گفت که آنها مایل به پذیرفتن من در برنامه لیسانسشان هستند. تفاوت در این بود که یک سال دیگر بر علاوه از برنامه معمولی دوره لیسانس استاندارد آنها که برای 3 سال بود، من مجبور شدم که 1 سال اضافگی را برای پوشش برخی از برنامه‌های لازمی آنها درس بخوانم. بنابراین آن را پذیرفتم و از نظر انتخاب شغل خیلی گیج بودم. نمیدانستم کدام رشته را انتخاب کنم و این روزها میشنوید بسیاری از اعضای جوان جماعت ما این چالش را دارند. پس آنچه که من انجام دادم، با یک آشنای خود که در امریکا بود تماس گرفتم. کسی بود مانند یک الگو و او یک خدمتگار بسیار خوب و کسی بود که کارهای زیاده برای جماعت افغانستان در پاکستان انجام داده بود وقتی که محصل بود. اکنون او الحمدلله در ایالات متحده زندگی بسیار مرفه دارد. من با او مشوره کردم و او توصیه کرد که من برنامه CPA را دنبال کنم که در نظر او بسیار امیدوار کننده بود و فرصتهای زیاده در بازار وجود داشت و من آن را قبول کردم و این اساساً شغل من را تغییر داد. در موقفی که فعلا هستم، من کار خود را دارم و از همکاری بسیاری از اشخاص مسلکی در گذشته مستفید شدم. پس فکر میکنم آن یک تجربه خوب بود که زندگی مرا تغییر داد. وقتی من به سیر پیشرفت خود می نگرم، من خیلی ها مدیون همان مشاور پروگرام مهارت کاریابی هستم. همان شخصی که در آن زمان به من کار نداد و همچنین آن شخصی که در امریکا مرا در مسیر درست راهنمایی کرد. در نتیجه من واقعاً به قدرت راهنمایی و مشوره باور دارم و فکر میکنم این میتواند زندگی های بسیاری را تغییر بدهد. میدانید وقتی مولانا حاضر امام در مورد شکستن چرخه فقر صحبت میکند، ما این گونه عمل میکنیم، هر بار یک فامیل، هر بار یک نفر، و هنگامی که ما این چرخه فقر را میشکنیم و از فقر بیرون میشویم، این از یک نسل به نسل دیگر ادامه پیدا میکند. بنابراین من واقعا همه اعضای جماعت را به شرکت و مشارکت در این ابتکار عالی تشویق میکنم. زیبایی این برنامه این است که شخص میتواند همزمان راهنما و کارآموز باشد. ممکن است در موقف یا سطح مدیریت متوسط باشد. شما می توانید برای کسی که تازه کار خود را شروع می کند یک مربی عالی باشید، اما همچنین می توانید از مشوره کسانی که از نگاه مسلکی بالاتر و از تجارب زندگی بیشتر برخوردار هستند بیاموزید. بنابراین این یک برنامه بسیار مؤثر و یک ابتکار عالی است. من واقعاً منتظر نتیجه این برنامه و تأثیرات مثبت آن انشالله به آینده جماعت ما در 5 سال، 10 سال، 15 و 20 سال آینده هستم. میخواهم قصه ای را که یک بار شنیده ام که همیشه در یادم است و من اغلب در مورد آن تأمل میکنم با شما در میان بگذارم. این قصه گفتگوی مرد با یک درویش یا حکیم است. مردی از درویش پرسید که بزرگترین گنج دنیا در کجاست؟ درویش در این باره کم فکر کرد و به اطراف نگاه کرد و قبرستان را دید و به طرف قبرستان اشاره کرده گفت آن بزرگترین گنجینه دنیا است. مرد متعجب شد و پرسید که قبرستان چطور میتواند بزرگترین گنجینه باشد؟ درویش در پاسخ گفت میدانی هر کسانی که در آنجا دفن هستند آنها ظرفیت بالایی داشتند که می توانستند با موفقیت عالی برسند و استعداد زیادی داشتند، اما آنها هرگز این توانایی را درک و از آن استفاده نکردند و وقتی از دنیا رفتند ظرفیت و تواناییشان را با خود بردند. پس این است بزرگترین گنجینه دنیا. من اول وقتی این داستان را شنیدم من همیشه درباره آن فکر می‌کردم که همه ما توانایی بالایی داریم و این مسئولیت شخصی ما است که ما تا حد توان تلاش کنیم و با توانایی‌های بالقوه خود پی ببریم و سپس با تأمل در مورد آن داستان در ارتباط با موضوع راهنمایی و مشوره فکر می‌کنم راهنمایی می‌تواند وسیله قدرتمند برای باز کردن این ارزش باشد و استعداد بالقوه‌ای که در افراد وجود دارد و ما فقط می‌توانیم با استفاده از آن تأثیر بسیار بسیار خوبی بر جامعه و اجتماع داشته باشیم. فقط با مشوره دادن به افراد از قدرت درونی و استعداد بالقوه خود استفاده کرده و در زندگی افراد تغییر ایجاد نماییم. در نتیجه من واقعاً به قدرت راهنمایی و مشوره باور داشته و از آن حمایت میکنم و مشتاقانه منتظر سهمگیری و همکاری عالی اعضای جماعت هستم. امشب ما افتخار داریم که رئیس کانسول ملی کانادا امیرعلی قاسم لاکا را برای اولین جلسه از گفتگوهای از قلب یا از دل با خود داریم. پرزیدنت امیر در مورد برخی از مهارت‌های لازمه برای موفقیت در دنیای امروز بحث خواهد کرد. پس از آن ما از شرکت کنندگان در بحث درباره تأثیر مثبت مشوره در زندگی آنها خواهیم شنید. گردانندگی این بخش را حلیمه جمال که در رأس برنامه مشاوره تحت عنوان Future Ready Initiative است به عهده خواهد داشت. حلیمه از کلگری است. او دوره لیسانس خود را از دانشگاه استنفورد و ماستری حقوق خود را از هاروارد به دست آورده و در حال حاضر یکی از مدیران شرکت مشورتی مکنزی است و حالا از پرزیدنت امیرعلی قاسم لاکا و به تعقیب آن از مهمانان در بحث برنامه دعوت میکنیم.
My dear brothers and sisters, یالی مدد.
برادران و خواهران عزیز من یا علی مدد. سر از امشب و تا چند هفته آینده می خواهم سلسله جدید از صحبت‌ها را زیر نام از قلب با جماعت شریک بسازم. از زمان شروع بیماری همگیر ما درباره مسائل مهمی که برای آینده جماعت اهمیت زیاده دارد بحث و گفتگو کردیم. در این سری سخنرانی‌های فشرده برای چند هفته هر شب من یک ویژگی را برجسته می کنم که برای موفقیت در دنیای امروز مهم است. این ویژگی ها هستند که طی دهه‌ها تحقیق و تجربه پدید آمدند. این ویژگی ها به ویژه برای جوانان ما که در زندگی خود تصمیم گیری می کنند و آینده آنها را تحت تاثیر قرار می دهد به نهایت مهم است. این مجموعه تحت عنوان از قلب است، زیرا موضوعات آن زیربنایی برای زندگی موفقیت آمیز است. زندگی همانطوری که همه ما می دانیم به ما درس‌های قدرتمند زیادی ارائه می دهد. برخی از این موارد بهتر از زود یاد گرفته شوند تا دیر. اینها درس‌هایی هستند که مربیان ممکن است با شاگردانشان به اشتراک بگذارند یا والدین با فرزندانشان در میان بگذارند. مؤسسات جماعتی چیز بیشتر از موفقیت برای جوانان ما که نسل آینده را تشکیل می‌دهند نمی‌خواهند و بنابراین ما این اندیشه‌ها و افکار را از قلب خود با شما شریک می‌سازیم. امشب من مفهوم ایجنسی یا انگیزه، ابتکار عمل و فعال بودن را مورد بحث قرار خواهم داد. ایجنسی یا انگیزه نشان داده است که یک عنصر تعیین کننده و کلیدی در موفقیت شخصی است. انگیزه مربوط به چگونگی نزدیک شدن ما به چالش‌های زندگی روزمره و چگونگی پذیرفتن تغییر است، چرا که ما انتخاب‌ها داریم. داشتن انگیزه این است که باور کنیم که ما به عنوان یک فرد توانایی تأثیرگذاری بر نتایج زندگی خود را از طریق تصمیماتی که می‌گیریم داریم. طرز فکری است که صرف نظر از شرایط زندگی امروز ما توانایی کنترل روایت فردا را داریم. من این مفهوم را از طریق یک مثال توضیح خواهم داد. تأثیر انگیزه بر عملکرد تحصیلی بر اساس تحقیقات روانشناسی توسط دکتر دیویک. تحقیقات نشان می‌دهد که افرادی که در درجه بالای از انگیزه هستند به دستاوردهای بهتری تحصیلی دسترسی پیدا می‌کنند. کسانی که دارای این نوع ایجنسی یا انگیزه هستند به عنوان افراد با طرز دید بالا انگاشته می‌شوند. آنها بر این باورند که توانایی‌های آنها همیشه در حال توسعه است و به رشد خود ادامه می‌دهند و از طریق کار سخت، برنامه‌ریزی خوب و مشاوره خوب به همه امکانات می‌توانند دسترسی پیدا کنند. افرادی که دارای انگیزه هستند هدف دارند تا در مکتب و مدرسه بهتر از دیگران باشند و تلاش آنان این است تا به دانش دسترسی داشته باشند. آنها به دنبال کارهای دشوار هستند و از اشتباهات و موانع یاد می‌گیرند. آنها ثبات بیشتری دارند. ثبات سرسختی است، یعنی خود را در شرایط دشوار قرار دادند و شکست را به عنوان بخشی از فرایند توسعه مشاهده کردند. آنها فعال هستند. آنها موانع را بخشی از زندگی می‌دانند و از موانع یاد می‌گیرند و به دنبال کردن اهداف خود ادامه می‌دهند. حالا این در تضاد با کسانی است که ایجنسی یا انگیزه محدود دارند. ویژگی‌های افراد با انگیزه محدود چیست؟ این افراد بر این باورند که توانایی‌های آنان ثابت است، که برخی از افراد بهتر از دیگران، باهوشتر، توانایی‌های ورزشی، توانایی‌های هنری و مهارت‌های اجتماعی متولد می‌شوند. دانش آموزان در یک ذهنیت ثابت بیش از حد بر توانایی‌های خود و یا عدم توانایی‌های خود تمرکز می‌کنند. آنها در این که هوشمند و عاقل به نظر برسند سرمایه گذاری می‌کنند و سعی می‌کنند مطمئن شوند که هرگز احمق یا ابله به نظر نیایند. آنها از تلاش اجتناب می‌کنند، زیرا باعث می‌شود آنها احساس ناهوشمندی کنند و با عقب ماندگی‌ها از خط خارج می‌شوند. اعتقاد دارند که موانع به معنای عدم توانایی هستند. این دانش آموزان خود را در موقعیت‌های قرار نمی‌دهند که در آن شکست بخورند. آنها به دنبال توسعه در زمینه‌های خارج از منطقه راحتی خود نیستند. به این ترتیب آنها در نهایت راکت باقی می‌مانند و رشد نمی‌کنند. حال این ممکن است یک مثال یا مشخصه حد اکثری یا افراطی به نظر بیاید، اما یک تقابل در دو انتهای منظره را نشان می‌دهد. تحقیقات نشان می‌دهد که دانش آموزان با انگیزه در آزمون‌ها به کسب نمرات بالاتر و درجات بهتر دست می‌یابند. آنها یاد می‌گیرند که می‌توانند ظرفیت مغز خود را افزایش دهند. در واقع وقتی که خودشان را برای یادگیری چیزهای سخت آماده می‌سازند، پیوندهای عصبی جدید و قوی‌تری ایجاد می‌کنند. ممکن است در کوتاه مدت با شکست مواجه شوند، اما در سرانجام کار تجربه‌های ارزشمندی به دست می‌آورند. آنها خطرات محاسبه شده و اعتماد به نفس را توسعه می‌دهند تا بدانند که در زندگی هیچ مشکلی غیر قابل عبور نیست. این فقط یک سوال است که فرد برای حل مشکلی که با آن مواجه است چقدر زمان می‌گذارد و تا چه حد تلاش می‌کند. من از عملکرد اکادمیک به عنوان مثال برای نشان دادن معنای ایجنسی یا انگیزه استفاده کردم، اما این مفهوم در قلمروهای دیگر نیز کاربرد دارد. مثلا در یک محیط حرفه‌ای، داشتن اعتماد به نفس برای دنبال کردن مراحل مورد نیاز برای ارتقا و دست آوردن یک شغل جدید با درآمد بالاتر. در ارتباط با خانواده، دوستان و عزیزان با در نظر گرفتن این روی کرد که هر رابطه ای را می توان با حجم مناسب کار و در زندگی شخصی خود بهتر کرد. درک این که ما می توانیم بر موانع غلبه کنیم وقتی که ذهن خود را بر آن متمرکز بسازیم که شرایط امروز هر چی باشد زندگی خوبی در پیش روی خود داریم. ممکن است در مورد زندگی گذشته ما نباشد، اما ما یک زندگی عالی در پیش رو داریم. فقط باید تصمیم بگیریم که کنترل را به دست بگیریم. بنابراین من از جوانانمان میخواهم که عمیقاً به بلند پروازی هایشان فکر کنند. آیا اهدافی وجود دارد که در آن سرمایه گذاری نکرده اید؟ شما از ترس شکست وقت نگذاشته اید، زیرا احساس کرده اید که به اندازه کافی استعداد ندارید تا به آنها دست یابید، یا به این دلیل که فکر نمی کردید شانسی دارید. در شرایطی که توسط بیماری همگیر ایجاد شده است، همانطور که ما شرایط حرفه‌ای و کسب کار خود را در نظر می گیریم، آیا ما با داشتن انگیزه و با چرخش به فرصت‌های جدید چشم می دوزیم یا به وضعیت موجود را می پذیریم؟ زندگی را همانطور که می آید می پذیریم و در نهایت فرصت‌های بالقوه را از دست می دهیم. به خاطر کووید، شرایطی که کووید به وجود آورده و بیرون شدن از این شرایط، پیش از این هرگز چنین وضعیتی نبوده که داشتن ایجنسی یا انگیزه، فعال بودن و ابتکار عمل به همان اندازه که امروز است اهمیت داشته باشد. بنابراین من میگویم که اگر شما در گروه دوم قرار دارید، از شما میخواهم که تجدید نظر کنید، طرز فکرتان را تغییر دهید، زیرا کوچکترین تغییر باور نکردن به خودتان ممکن است تنها مانعی باشد که جلو تبدیل اهدافتان را به واقعیت بگیرد. با تشکر از شما و خدا حافظ.
Thank you, President Saib. Looking forward to today's conversation, I started to reflect on my earliest experience of mentorship. I remember standing on a stool on my tippy toes in the kitchen, placing my hands over my nanimas as we rolled out the dough to make rotis. No matter how hard I tried, I was not able to replicate the perfectly round rotis she seemed to have effortlessly prepared. Mine looked like blobs. I remember that a part of me felt frustrated in the moment. And while my quest for the perfectly round rotli still continues, what I really took from this mentorship experience with my nani was how much I valued her gentle encouragement and patience, which has enabled me to take creative risks both inside and outside the kitchen. Today, we have an opportunity to reflect on the impact of different forms of mentorship on each of us. Joining our panel tonight is Karim Thomas, who serves as the Vice President of the Aga Khan Council for Canada. Karim is a partner with McKinsey & Company, advising a range of financial institutions on strategy and transformation. He also served as the chairman of the Aga Khan Education Board from 2012 to 2019. We are also joined by Nurullah Hussainzada from Calgary, an architect with Farmore Architecture. Nurullah completed his Bachelor of Environmental Design and Architecture at UBC and his Master's of Architecture at the University of Calgary. And rounding out the panel is Mubina Mistry, a medical student at the University of Toronto. She recently graduated with distinction from Queen's University with a Bachelor's in Science. Mubina received an Ontario Youth Volunteer Service Award for her contributions to the community. How impressive. Welcome to all of you. Karim, we know that the Future Ready initiative is a major undertaking to help prepare the Jamaat for the years ahead. I'm wondering first if you could help us understand the role that mentorship and the Fast Track program plays within the Future Ready initiative.
Sure, thank you, Alima. So, as many of you have heard from President Amir, the Future Ready initiative is the flagship initiative of the Jamaati institutions to help all of us in the Jamaat across the country really prepare for not only sort of navigating through the changes that are going to come over the next few years, but thriving through those changes. It's really a reflection of the confidence that Maulana Hazar Imam has expressed repeatedly to the Jamaat, that coming out of the pandemic, the Jamaat will be in a position of greater strength, of greater confidence, of greater hope and optimism. Fast Track Mentorship is one of the 4 pillars within the Future Ready initiative. The other 3 pillars are the Family Mentorship Program, the Future of Work, and Mental Health. Mentorship and Fast Track Mentorship is important to us because it's about bringing the Jamaat together. It's about harnessing the knowledge, the insights, the wisdom, the experience of Jamaati members to help other members of the Jamaat. And that's an incredibly important and fundamental part of preparing ourselves for navigating and thriving through the future. One of the very exciting things for us about Fast Track is that it is really about connecting the Jamaat based on who you are instead of who you know. When Fast Track was started, it was started by a couple of young Jamaati members who lived in a small town in Canada. And one of the questions they were trying to answer for themselves was, how do we connect with the Jamaat that's more largely settled in the large urban centers in Canada? How do we benefit from all of the experiences, the insight, the talent, the knowledge that exists in those Jamaats? And how do we contribute what we have? And it's this notion which in today's COVID world is even more relevant, of sort of remote mentorship, of connecting the Jamaat from coast to coast, that we're particularly excited about.
Wonderful. So Mubina, I think you can share a little bit about your participation in the program as a mentee in Fast Track. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for you, and how did it impact you?
Yes, for sure, Lima. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with the Jamaat my experience being a Fast Track mentee last year. To say that the Fast Track program was anything short of life-changing for me would probably be an understatement. I am very thankful to have had the opportunity to be connected with a mentor that was working at the time, of course, in medicine, which was a field in which I was interested in pursuing. And as a result, I was really able to be prepared in the right sense to kind of chase my dreams, as they say. And this is the first year actually that Fast Track is going to be presented and available in English and French. So I also want to kind of share a little bit more about my experience in French, if you would allow me the opportunity.
Of course.
Thanks. J'ai le grand plaisir de vous parler aujourd'hui à propos de mon expérience dans le programme de mentorat Fast Track en tant que mentoré l'année passée. On s'attend que les mentors vont avoir 4 appels avec leur mentoré pendant l'année, et j'étais très chanceuse d'avoir eu une mentor très généreuse qui était toujours prête à m'aider. Elle m'a donné des conseils pour que je puisse bien réussir à l'examen M4, et elle a aussi été une très grande partie de pourquoi j'ai eu la confiance de faire un bon entrevue. Et je crois que peut-être sans ma mentor, je n'aurais pas eu la même chance à réussir d'entrer en médecine. Et je suis très reconnaissante.
Amazing, Mubina. It sounds like your mentor has really had a profound impact on your experience and your path. And so now, switching to Nurullah. Nurullah, I've been particularly fascinated by your career path. As someone who's gone into architecture, I think many of us, I don't know that that's the first career that we think about when we understand the options that are available to us. So I'm curious to know what the experience has been like pursuing what might be a less conventional career path, and how did mentorship shape your view of the possibilities of that career path, both before you entered in and during your time?
Yeah, Lima, thanks, Halima, for that introduction and the opportunity to be part of the panel today. I would say that probably about three individuals have played a very important role in my life as mentors who have shaped my career. And it goes back to high school. Basically, when I was fascinated and interested in art, I was in IB art. I was doing paintings, drawings, and sculptures, and I was doing well in physics and mathematics as well at the same time. So my art teacher was noticing all of this, and he was kind of encouraging me to consider a career in architecture. And so part of the process towards becoming a registered architect is to do a certain number of experience hours in different kind of categories of architecture to make sure that you have sufficient experience. And in addition to that, overseeing those experience hours, they require that your work be overseen by a supervisor and a mentor. And in this case, they were both mentors to me. The supervisor, who is usually your employer, and in my case, it was Farhad Murtazai from Farmer Architecture, my good colleague at the moment. He would basically oversee all of the detail work that I would be doing in the office, any kind of projects that I'd be working on, any kind of basically questions that I had specific to each project. He would be always there, and I am super thankful for him. He has been so helpful. On the other hand, outside of the office, I had my mentor, who was Aziz Boutwala from Kaysian Architecture. So anything that was kind of outside the office and looking at kind of a high-level view of my career and the trajectories, he was always there to speak to me if I had any kind of questions or difficulties. And so I would say that these three individuals have played a very crucial role in my life in shaping who I am today in my career and how I've arrived here.
And what advice would you give to other young people who are thinking about pursuing their passions or might want to pursue a passion in a field that may be less common?
So what I would suggest for that is that no matter what your passion is, absolutely 100% dedicate yourself to that and hone your craft. Just own it and make it better and better. Because although you might have mentors and people giving you advice here and there, at the end of the day, the responsibility falls on you to make yourself better. It takes a tremendous amount of self-discipline and self-motivation to take initiative and kind of build upon the guidance that mentors that provide for you.
Excellent. It's as you're making these comments, it's making me think of something that I always tell my family, which is I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And that's something I hold on to every once in a while because I realize that we're always evolving in our journeys. And so your words of wisdom, I think, really resonate with me as well. Vice President Karim, aside from your professional career, you've had a really rewarding journey in the life of Seva. Do you think the idea of mentorship also applies in the world of Seva? And who are some examples of individuals who have really inspired you along the way?
That's a great question, Alima. I do think that Seva and mentorship are completely interlinked. In our faith, the opportunity to serve in whatever capacity, in whatever way, there isn't a school that you go to, there isn't a training program that you go to. We are taught by the example, by the leadership, by the guidance, by the direction. Of course, first from our beloved Imam, and second from those that we work with around us. My Seva journey actually started when, in earnest, shall we say, when I got involved with the Education Board in British Columbia when I was in grade 7. And the reason I got involved with the Education Board, I don't know if I should disclose this on Friday Night Reflections, but the reason why I got involved with the Education Board was that there were a group of young people at the time who were part of the board, and a couple of them drove really cool sports cars. And I realized that if I got involved with the Education Board, one of them would come and pick me up and take me to the meetings that we had. This was back in the days when we used to meet in Jamaat Khana and do volunteer work kind of face to face. But it was these folks who were a little bit older than me who really took me under their wing, introduced me to institutional work, taught me how to do things through our institutional processes and structures. And I'll never forget how excited I was, on those Tuesday nights when waiting to go to these education board meetings in the black sports car and listening to techno music all the way to Durkana. And look, that's a bit of a lighthearted reminder for all of us that the things that the impact that mentors can have is often not the things that people will think about. If you go and ask those individuals today, what was the impact you had on Kareem, they'll probably tell you about starting iStar in BC and the work that we had to do to get that going, or engaging young people in thinking about excellence in education. And I just told you that it was all about a black sports car and a ride once a week to Durkana. So, we may not recognize as mentors the impact that we have on our mentees or on those around us, but I think it's fundamental to who we are as a Jamaat and how our ethic, our tradition of service and of humility in that service has been conveyed over many generations.
That's a beautiful anecdote. And let me ask you this. So for those younger members of our Jamaat who may not be similarly motivated by sports cars or fancy cars, what advice would you give them as they are pursuing a path in Seva? I think you've really demonstrated eloquently or shown us eloquently how mentors may be having an impact beyond what they would anticipate or expect. But what about our mentees? What advice would you have for them as they embark on a journey of Seva?
Look, I feel like I'm still on my own journey, so it feels a bit presumptuous to be giving advice to others in some ways. But what I will say is that right back to the root of our faith is the concept, is the notion of Islam being a faith of the intellect, of everything that we do being part of our journey of learning, of discovering, of understanding the beauty and the majesty of Allah's creation. And I think as a mentee, entering into that kind of mentorship relationship with the humility, with the openness, to know that you're going to get something out of this relationship. It may not be the thing that you are expecting. It may not be the reason why you have joined the program. And I think in some cases, people join with the expectation, now I have a mentor, I'm going to have a job. And that's, I think, not the optimal way to look at this. But approaching it in the spirit of intellectual humility, with an openness to learning, to experiencing, to being shaped by your mentor and by the experiences you jointly have, is incredible. And by the way, I think that's the same advice for mentors too, right? We can often get trapped in sort of the thinking that we are sharing something of ourselves, that it's an act of sort of single direction learning or knowledge exchange. And really, I've always found that I learn just as much from my mentees as whatever little I'm able to impart.
Kurib, can you tell us a little bit about how being a mentor has impacted you?
So throughout my life, no matter how busy and how many demands there have been on my time from other things, I know that there have been time that others have made for me in their lives. There have been people who have set aside whatever was pressing on their agenda, on their plate, and said, I'm going to spend time with him and I'm going to help him think about his career, his academic growth, etc. And I wanted to be able to do the same for my brothers and sisters in the Jamaat as well. And so I've always made time, and to tell you the truth, I've never regretted being a mentor. It's always been an incredibly special and uplifting experience for me.
It's beautiful to hear. Nurullah, I think it's safe to say that you've had to overcome so many challenges, maybe even more than most, in achieving so much in your career so quickly. What advice would you have to give to others whose families may have immigrated from Afghanistan or elsewhere, and who are seeking to establish really strong careers and lives here. How did you persevere, and also what has kept you going?
Just to share a little bit of a background, when we first came to Canada, it was around 2003. I was a lot younger back then, and honestly, I didn't know any English. And so starting from junior high, I would look at my science textbooks, my social studies textbooks, and I would be like, I don't understand a single word. And so I would spend most of my time in ESL, and it was really tough. But you know, with hard work and perseverance, I was able to get out of ESL by grade 9, and then in high school I was kind of trying to get my marks high enough so that I can get into university. And throughout that time, of course, I've had many people who've helped me. And so what I would say to people who come to Canada from other countries is, I would say, first of all, keep an open mind towards learning new things. For me, it was a language barrier. It was a cultural shock. But I observed for quite a bit, and I tried to learn as much as I could. And what that does is it makes the assimilation process much easier. And so if you persevere through that, and I'm pretty sure that you can make it through anything if you can work hard towards that with a very positive attitude. And on top of that, I would totally suggest, you know what, go out and participate in these programs like Fast Track. Because they're absolutely gold. They're super helpful. I actually didn't have access to anything like Fast Track, but I think that any kind of newcomers to Canada that have access to this program should take full advantage.
Oh, good, Nurullah. I'm glad to hear that we've convinced you. Mubina, I know that the Fast Track program has been in existence for about 8 years as a national e-mentorship program. How amazing. For those who are watching that may be interested in being a mentor or a mentee, can you tell us a little bit about what is involved in terms of time commitment? What ages are eligible to become mentees, and what kind of backgrounds are you looking for in your mentors?
Yes, of course. So we want to invite Jamaati members looking to enter various different career paths, and also those who may be professionals in these careers who also happen to be between the ages of 14 to 40 years, to please consider signing up for the Fast Track Mentorship Program. There's a very quick application to fill out on the website. And just as a little bit more information for potential mentors, we know that the professionals in the Jamaat are very, very busy, and we want to make the program as accessible and as mentor friendly as possible. So we do have a time commitment of about 4 calls over the course of the year that we would expect mentors to have and to take out some time to speak with their mentees. And then of course, we also provide materials such as modules, so that the entire onus of kind of directing this mentorship relationship does not fall solely on the mentors. And the support of the executive team would, of course, always be behind them, whether that be the case managers or any other member of the executive team.
Great. So if I were to summarize what you're saying, Mubina, it sounds like the registration for the Fast Track program is open. Mentees who are interested in applying, we're looking for mentees from the ages of 14 to 40, but really mentors can be of any age, from diverse career backgrounds, any range of potential interests and passions. Sounds like a really outstanding program. Vice President Karim, we'll leave the last word to you. You are obviously extremely busy in your professional and civil life, and yet you've taken this time to be a mentor. So clearly you see this as being an important use of your time. Can you tell us a little bit about what motivated that? And what's your goal or your vision for mentorship in the Jamaat overall?
Thanks, Alima. Let me start with the question of the goal. And I think the goal is quite simple for me. All of us across the Jamaat are going to have to make challenging choices in the coming years. We're going to have to think about our futures. We may have to change career pathways. We may have to change jobs. We may have to make new choices in terms of our business interests, our academics for those who are students, etc. But we are, as we like to say, one Jamaat. And I don't believe that any member of the Jamaat, no matter where they live, no matter what their background, should have to make those difficult choices without having the option to speak to someone else who cares about them, who cares about their future, who wants to help them pave the way a little bit with the experience that they have, to support them in whatever way we can. And that really is what mentorship is about, and that really is what Fast Track is about. It's about ensuring that those who have these kinds of questions, those who are having to make these kinds of decisions, know that they can do it with the support of their family, of the Jamaat across Canada. And this is only going to work. It's only going to work for the mentees if we have mentors come forward. If we have people come forward who say that, you know what, I remember that I was given a helping hand along on my journey, and I'm going to extend that hand back out to someone else in my community. And for those who feel like they didn't receive any mentorship, you know what a difficult path, what a difficult journey it is. You know how isolating it can feel to walk that path on your own. And here's an opportunity to ensure that another family member doesn't have to go through what you went through. And so I really hope, through everything that we've heard today, folks will be encouraged, inspired, motivated to sign up for Fast Track, either as a mentor, as a mentee. You can actually do both in Fast Track, but come forward and be part of enriching this virtual community that we have from coast to coast.
Well, Karim, I can say that as someone who has really benefited personally from your mentorship, that I couldn't be more inspired and can't see more clearly the benefits that being a mentor and having mentorship within the Jamaat or even outside provides. So thank you so much for that. And I will definitely sign up as a mentor, also probably as a mentee, because I am constantly going through the process of trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. Thank you so much to all our panelists. It's been such a privilege to have you join us, share your personal stories, your anecdotes, your experiences. I know I've gained a lot from the discussion. And a reminder to all of those who want more information on Fast Track, go to iicanada.org/fasttrack and click on register now. The deadline to register is January 25th, which is next Friday. So please sign up, and we look forward to seeing you online. Thanks so much, and back to you, President Noor.
امیدوارم همه شما به اندازه من از بحث‌های مهمانان برنامه لذت برده باشید و تأثیر بزرگی که دیگران می توانند از طریق راهنمایی و مشوره در زندگی ما داشته باشند را درک کرده باشید. من می خواهم از سخنرانی تاریخی مولانا حاضر امام در جلسه مشترک پارلمان کانادا در سال 2014 نقل قول کنم. من تحت تأثیر مطالعات اخیره که نشان دهنده فعالیت مؤسسات داوطلبانه و سازمان‌های غیر انتفاعی در کانادا که در بالاترین سطح جهانی است قرار گرفتم. این روحیه کانادایی هم نوا است با یک اصل گرامی در فرهنگ شیعه اسماعیلی، اهمیت کمک و اهدای انرژی های فردی به طور داوطلبانه برای بهبود زندگی دیگران. این یک موضوع بشردوستی نبوده، بلکه بیشتر برای برآورده شدن آرمان های فردی به مفهوم حقیقی آن انجام می شود. برنامه امشب را با پارچه موسیقی به پایان میبریم با تشکر از همراهی همه شما. خدا حافظ.
मुश्किल हो आसान मुश्किल कुशा मेहरबान मुश्किल हो आसान मुश्किल कुशा मेहरबान ज़ात जो आली मकाम कुव्वते परवरदिगार लाफता इल्ला अली ला सैफ इल्ला जुल्फ़िकार अली मौला कहती रहूं नाम अली से मैं तो रंगती रहूं दम दम अली अली करती रहूं तू ही जिंद मेरी जान अली मौला कहता रहूं नाम अली से मैं तो रंगता रहूं दम दम अली अली करता रहूं तू ही जिंद मेरी जान तेरे दर पे जो आए खाली हाथ न जाए तूफान में फंसी कश्ती को तू ही पार लगाए तूफान लो दिकटुम कश्तियों ने मुश्तर दिवशुमार नजरे करम हो जो तेरे कैसे टले ना फिर बजाए मेरी शाह वली शेर खुदा मजहर नूर खुदा लाफता